Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it was sent to me by one of our dear brothers. The messages that he sent to me were like this. Hello my brother, can you please post for me, and whenever I make an error, can you please try to correct that error? I am a man who is from Swaziland. My story started way before I had came here to South Africa, when I was still there in Swaziland. When I grew up in my home country, I grew up on a plantation. It was an orange plantation. My parents used to be farm workers. They would go and pick up some oranges. This is the only life that my parents knew, and my grandparents as well. They were both farm workers. And even myself, if I had not came here to South Africa to look for better opportunities, I was going to end up working in the farms as well. But life on the farms was very difficult and painful, because what that man that was the owner of the plantation used to do was that whenever he would see that there was no oranges for my parents and some of his workers to pick, what he would do is that sometimes when you will be fast asleep, maybe around 3 a.m., then you would hear that just outside of your homes there will be a truck that will be waiting for you. So all that you could do was to pick up a blanket and a few clothes. Then you would quickly rush into the truck. The truck would then take you to another farm. Most of the farms that my parents used to go and work, they were grape farms. Life was very difficult. So growing up, my brother, in our country, there were a few foreign nationals. The only foreigners that used to come and work in the plantations, they were mostly people from Malawi and people from Mozambique. But by the time that I was a little bit mature, then a lot of people that were from Zimbabwe, they kept on coming and working in the same plantations that my parents were working on. So there was this other older man. This man, he was from Zimbabwe, and he told me that he was from an area in Zim that is called Chipinge. So me and that man, we used to speak a lot, and the man, he knew a lot of charms. One day he told me, and he said that there was this other charm or a ritual that he knew, and on himself he could not perform that ritual. He kept on telling me that if I was one who was from Swaziland, I was going to become a millionaire. So I never understood until the day that he performed the rituals on me. He told me that the ritual that he wanted to perform on me was not going to work in my country, but I had to travel to another country. So in my case, I then chose South Africa because that was a country that was more familiar to me and that was more closer to my home. So the way that we performed this ritual, my brother, he had told me that I was supposed to keep some money. So for many months, I had been budgeting the money, and at that time, I had managed to save 200 rands. He told me that I had to keep the money, and the money was supposed to be the money that was used in the country in which I wanted to go. So what I had done is that I had saved the money, and the money was around 200 rands, and it was very difficult because of the money that I was getting when I was now working at that same farm which I had grew up on. So after I had showed him the money, he told me that we were going to perform that ritual. He told me that the ritual could be performed in the middle of the night when no one could see what we were doing. He told me that when he will be looking for whatever herbs and plants that he was looking for, we were supposed to do it in the dark. And I was really scared, my brother, when we were going around the farm looking for whatever plants and herbs that he was looking for. After he had found this other flower that he didn't show me, he kept on holding that flower in his hand, and he didn't show me until we had done the rituals. He then told me that we had to look for a place where two pathways meet. So we kept on walking around the farm until we finally came to a place where he said that this place was okay for us to perform the ritual. But this place that he had chosen, it was where two pathways that were used by people that used to go around the farm meet. But what I saw, my brother, on that night, it really shocked me, because after that man had thrown the plant onto the ground, then that plant transformed itself and it became a snake. Where that snake went to, my brother, I do not even know. After we had done those rituals, he told me that we had to leave the money there, and he told me that after I had traveled on my journey going to South Africa, with the first salary that I was going to get, I had to take all of that money and I had to go to a place where two roads meet, and I was supposed to leave the money from my first salary, but I had to choose different places until all the money that had been given to me as my first salary was finished. So, my brother, after I had saved enough, that was when I managed to find myself in South Africa. When I was in South Africa, life was very difficult because I didn't even know anyone. I used to sleep at the outskirts of the city, and I was sleeping underneath this other narrow bridge. What I used to do is that throughout the day, I'll be busy trying to find any kind of job that I could get. This narrow bridge, it connected this other location in the city, but before you could get to that narrow bridge, there was this other small bushy area. So a lot of people used to walk from that other location coming to the city. Then there was this other woman. She used to cook soft porridge there by the taxi rank. Then that woman, what she used to do is that sometimes I would go to her canteen. Then that woman would give me the leftovers. That is how I used to survive. That lady then one day told me that she wanted someone who could work for her. That was how I started working for that woman. When she gave me my first salary, I then remembered everything that I was supposed to do with the money that would have been given to me as my first salary. So what I did, my brother, I then went into that same bushy area that was just close to that location. I then looked for different pathways, and whenever there was an intersection, I would stand in the middle of that intersection and I would throw away the money. All of these things, I did it, and I made sure that no one was looking at me. Wherever there was two pathways that could meet, I would then stand in the middle of the intersection. Then I would drop the money. After this thing happened, my brother, I then started noticing that in this other wallet, which that man had instructed me to buy, I kept on seeing that there was droplets of blood that kept on appearing from nowhere, and I could not even understand where this blood that I kept on seeing in my wallet was coming from. And the other thing that kept on happening, my brother, was that I kept on seeing that there was magic money that was now appearing in that same wallet. And this magic money, the way that it used to appear, I'll see that there will be 200 notes that kept on appearing in that wallet. Then there was this other time that I had a strange dream. I saw that there was this other strange woman that had walked in that room that I was sleeping, and I had this thing that is called sleep paralysis. As that woman was inside the room that I was sleeping, there was nothing that I could do. Then that woman turned around as she was walking out of the room that I was sleeping in, but she then looked at me and she said to me, "Whom do you want to die?" So I remained quiet. Then that woman said to me, "If you do not tell me whom you want to die, then I'll end up killing you, because one has to die." So I was afraid of this strange woman that had walked into that room that I was sleeping in. So I just said, "Let it be my mother, please. Let it be my mother. She can die because I do not want to die." So that woman just walked away. After that woman had asked me whom I wanted to die, and after I had told her that I wanted my mother to die instead of me dying because I was afraid of dying, that was when I received the sad news that my mother had passed away back in Swaziland. And it even still has me even up until today that I was not even there when my mother was buried. After that, my brother, there was this other day when I just found found out that in that room that I was renting, there was this other suitcase. I don't even know where this suitcase came from. So I kept on looking at that suitcase that had magically appeared into that room that I was in that room that I was renting. This suitcase, it was pink in color, but what drew my attention to that suitcase, it was because it was loaded with money. The money was all over the place. So I then took that suitcase. As I kept on studying that suitcase, I then found out that the money could not even be counted in a single day. My brother, you know how many days it took me so that I could finish counting the money that had been loaded into that suitcase? It was 4 days, my brother. After I was done counting the money, I then found out that the money that had been loaded into that pink suitcase, it was 3.8 million rands in cash. During those 4 days, my brother, I never went to work and I never did anything. What I'll do is that when I would see that I am now hungry and tired, I'll just get out of that room that I was renting. Then I would go and I would buy some takeaways. And when I have finished eating, I would continue counting the money. Counting this money, my brother, it took me 4 days. And after I had made so much money, that was when I got married to this other lady. The lady that I got married to, she is a South African lady. And this story, my brother, she does not even know that at the back of all the fortune that I acquired here in South Africa, there were some rituals that I did. And these rituals that I did, they started all the way when I was still back home. The reason why I chose to marry this South African lady, it was because I didn't know how to invest all of this magic money that magically appeared into that room that I was renting. So she just thinks that all of the fortune that we have, it was by the grace of God, and according to her, hers is a happy home and a happy marriage. But she does not even know that deep down in my heart, I am always filled with regret, because these rituals, according to that man who was from Zim, who told me how to perform these rituals, he said that I have to perform these rituals almost for the rest of my days. So on most occasions, what I do, my brother, is that I get out of the house as if I am going somewhere very important. Then I choose the locations that I drive to, and mostly I target the poorest of the poorest locations. And when I get there, my brother, I leave my car somewhere else. Then I'll start to walk on foot, as I'll be busy looking for the busiest intersections in those poor locations. And after I had searched for my target, I'll start then to drop the money that will be in my pockets. And this money is the same money that I use for my rituals. Those are the rituals that were taught to me by that man. He said that whenever I perform these rituals, I have to go around dropping cash, and I do not know what happens to all of the people that end up picking up the cash, the ritual money that I would have dropped in all of those poor locations. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our listeners, and he then said, Brother Nashi, wherever that I have made a mistake, please, you can try to make some corrections as you'll be reading. Strange things do happen in this world.